it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on basically in response to a flood of stories, anecdotes, emails, comments that I've been receiving in here at the channel. And this is to really address what is the concept of hyperarousal from someone who is psychopathic, someone who is male, someone who is female. What does it mean when this individual is sort of getting one over on you? How are they using this energy of seduction, of the illusion, of the thrill, and this, what we're going to call intoxication. Like a viewer so aptly stated, if you feel intoxicated from this person upon immediately visiting, your initial reaction, run. So this is a great, great statement. And I'm going to kind of tie these together for us so you can kind of understand how this hyperarousal, how this confusion, this fog, this thought disorder, this feeling then that the body is running the brain, and how it's causing you to become somewhat different. It's causing you to do things that normally you would not do. You're violating your own standards. You're violating your own values. You're violating your own sense of right or wrong. That's gone out the window. It's thrown to the wind. Now you are gone with the wind. But not in the case that like you're being brought to safety. You're actually being brought to damage and you're being brought to danger. Danger is not a good thing to play with. Some people, if you have been in a certain stage of your life where either you're lonely, isolated, not having fun, in a boring marriage, or a just so-so marriage, or a so-so job, or you're needing help, taking your life to the next level, and you kind of have this, I don't want to say it as a weakness, but as a vulnerability, or just something that's happening in your MO. Or you're a young child and you kind of need someone to guide you, someone to show you the way, someone to show you the ropes. You're not yet self-reliant. So you have this vulnerability. You have this need. You have this quote unquote, not a weakness, but in the eyes of someone who is psychopathic, this is prime picking. This is the mother load. This is the father load. This is what they're looking for. They're looking for someone who has an abundance of emotion, an abundance of naivete, an abundance of being carefree, a free spirit, someone who is giving, someone whose manhood is tied to giving or providing, someone who's, has a need as a woman to be made to feel like a woman, to be provided for, so that she feels more taken care of in this way, or there's kind of a need there. It's like an open gap where this person then fills this. And so in the beginning, someone who is psychopathic is going to assess the situation. They're not going to come into the relationship organically, get to know you over a period of time, and have this sort of natural, normal human encounter. They're going to actually pick you out of a crowd, just like the way a lion would look to a patch of gazelle, like the way a lion would look to a pack of antelope or a wounded elephant or whatever it is. They are going to pick the young, the vulnerable, the weak, those individuals whom they can get for their food source. So when we say interspecies predator, it is to state that this person, even though they look like, a good-looking person, a smart person, have a great job, a great car, a great house, whatever it is, this individual actually does not have sort of the contents of being human, i.e. a heart, i.e. values, i.e. a moral compass. And so it gives them the ability to violate others without feeling bad, without feeling remorse, without feeling fear of consequences. So if you did not have fear of consequences, just think what that would mean for a moment. It's hard to imagine. It's hard to get your head around it, your heart around it. But if someone did not have any fear of retribution, or just that they weren't going to get caught, or nothing would happen if they were to do this to somebody, that was not an internal kind of brake system, if you will, that it would allow you to just kind of mull over and plow over people and just kind of plow through people, relationships with not having a tinge of remorse, guilt, not feeling bad. Oh, I drained out your bank account. So, you gave me access to it. I left you at this part in the relationship. So there was this other person. We had that fight, and, normally after this sort of fight, most people would not get back together, but this person wants to get back together. So these are the typical, experiences you might have looked at and very specific to this type of relationship. And then your tolerance for what you're putting up with tends to increase when you're going through the hyperarousal state. So in other words, this is kind of a little bit of a nutshell what this type of person is. But then it is to understand that because of this, this person operates in a different manner. In other words, they have a different understanding of emotions, words, and what words mean. So in other words, if I were to say the word rape, what does that trigger in you? A feeling of fear, trepidation, etc. Violation. And if there were other emotional laden words like that, the studies have been shown that a psychopath reacts and responds differently and resonates differently to that word. So to them, it would just resonate as like chair. It would have, or table, or napkin. It doesn't have any sort of moral good or bad tinge to it. There is no definition of such within their mind. And so if you can understand just from that study what this means, it is to understand that the psychopath hears the words but not the music. So, and that is a very profound statement. And a psychopath will tell you this. They will, unequivocally have an agreement on this part, that they hear the words but not the music. In other words, there's just sort of, they're just kind of hearing an overall sense of it. They don't really kind of get into music. They don't get into emotion the same way that you do. They might, bop like this and smile. And then, of course, there is the psychopathic gaze, which, they seem to just be sussing you out. But a lot of people take this as seduction, where they're just kind of have a very blank stare, but yet it seems very enticing, very alluring. It's the hitherto psychopathic gaze where you feel like you're, again, being intoxicated by a look. And then, you get so excited, and then you're drawn to them. And they're like, whoa, I've just hit the jackpot. And you're like, this is so exciting. I'm aroused just on a look. So you tend to then interpret it as, holy guacamole, I've just had the answer to my prayers. This is my soulmate. So these are unequivocally the decisions and the decision-making process and the thought process that goes along in the victim, the target. And so it is to understand if this has happened, and then it is to understand then the hyperarousal, once again, that we're saying, this allows them then to play on your emotions. And because they don't feel this, they are then going to mimic what they see in society, i.e., look at the billboard of the Sandals vacation and there's the two holding hands. Oh, these earth people must like to hold hands. So here they go holding hands. You're at the restaurant. OMG. No one has held hands with me while I'm waiting in line for a Subway. Oh my God, no one has done this to me while I'm just doing this. I think I can, stay in this spot forever. I feel like I'm in heaven. So when you feel these things, it's to understand, again, that there's an individual who is, through their energy, they're changing the energy within you, and you're experiencing this, and this is the root of the addiction. This is where the hyperarousal is going to get set up, and this is how you then explain to yourself why you will tolerate and you won't see things coming, because you are slowly getting hooked on this feeling. And then physiologically, you're getting sort of numbed out to your own values, to your own self, really, and what kind of is your reality, because they are going to respectfully disrespect you. So it's kind of like, is there a creature out there, of course, like a salamander? These are a lot of equivalents. If you've ever seen a salamander that changes color within its environment, they are able to metamorphosize. It's an actually really amazing miraculous feat of these animals, but to protect themselves, they're going to blend into the environment. I mean, you can see sparrows, deers, whatever it is in your natural environment. You're going to see animals that camouflage themselves like walking sticks. You know, it's so that birds of prey, animals of prey, don't eat them and devour them. So the psychopath can also metamorphosize in this way. They're kind of like, I don't want to say salamander people, but really they can change their countenance, which means their visage, their face, the expression. If you've ever seen like Jim Carrey and how he can twist and contort his face, you almost feel like, oh my God, that is a different person. These individuals, because of their physiology, I feel, they definitely can change, and they will put on a show. Put on the show of a manager, of a spouse, of a lover. It is all like, it's physiologically, they're producing this, and they are asexual, meaning they're not so interested in the sex. They're interested in overpowering, seeing their victim down, seeing their victim go, ooh, ah, OMG, you're my soulmate. And they're going, wow, I don't even have to call this person. I can just call them Poopsie, Peepsy, Bunny. You know, in other words, I'm going to slowly erode their identity and who they are. And they're going to be basically nameless, faceless to me when they're done. And they're going to feel this sort of lack of identity and this sort of corrosion and feeling of being corroded or damaged after this. And it is because of this encounter where they're trying to kind of really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really kind of corrode and dismantle this inner subset with which you usually live your life and operate. And then once again, the psychopathic gaze, if you will ever, and you can understand this and see this. So, and Thomas Sheridan gives a great example of this on his videos, Puzzling People, The Labyrinth of the Psychopath. He will note that there's zero eye expression, but the face is curling up. So the eyes are like this. Usually when people smile, their eyes will twinkle. You know, their eyes will have a showing of emotion. When you see this, in other words, the face is smiling, but the eyes are straight. There's no, it's a cold expression, but yet the face is smiling. So it's looking like, well, you know, you can really see this almost like on a map of the face. I don't know if there's been any studies, but you can definitely see a psychopathic gaze. You can look at images where you can see there's a very no emotion in the eyes, but there's a smile on the face. You can even look at, you know, pictures of people who, you know, who might be politicians, who might be movie stars. So they tend to gravitate towards specific lines of power where they can get away with these presumptions. Once again, on Netflix, if you watch Trump, An American Dream, I think it's like 4 or 5 series, no matter what your culture that you're living in, I would highly recommend that you look at this. And I think you'll see some resonance or corresponding and being able to relate to the characters of this and what you have gone through. In other words, how someone can just say anything without factual basis. So once again, the hyperarousal is when they're going to break you down, get you tired. Are they interrupting your natural flow, your work time, your workout time, your meal time, your sleep time, where normally you're doing X, Y, and Z, and all of a sudden, boom, here they come. They're assailing you with pictures, statements, looks. They want to take you out and then, you know, do these mimicry behaviors, which all illusion, and oftentimes engaged with high risk. High risk meaning there is a tinge of danger or thrill. Yes, everybody has a sense of excitement and spontaneity. Let's go to this restaurant. Let's go here. Let's do that. I mean, there's going to be that in a relationship. But to the point then where your boundaries are violated, i.e., where you stop and they begin, if you're not aware of this, or you're, you know, a little bit naive and you're just, oh, you know, the world, and you're hyper over idealized individual, then this is going to be very easy for them to accomplish, where they just have their way with you. And then you don't know how to say no. You don't know how to see that there is a violation. You cannot see it. Literally, you're in the love bombing. And this can go on for 1, 2, 3 years, 4 years. It might go on for 10 years. where they're just kind of getting away with this and then keeping you on a string. You might be a side fling, you might be their main squeeze, they might be moving in with you, you might be moving in with them, but either way, there is a certain chameleon-like situation here, and then over here, they're chameleon to another type of personality. And you can see this if you ever expose them and see how they're acting very differently from here to there. In other words, they're one way here, and then over there, they've got motorcycles, they're a different gang, they're like a salamander. They tend to, they can metamorphosize into a whole nother personality, and they can become like a little boy or a little girl or an ecologist or some other, politician when they're normally not even into politics, but they can mimic this quite well. It is because they study this. And so the hyperarousal then becomes where you're titillated and excited and you want to keep that going. Once again, with every relationship, yeah, you want to, if you found something good, you're going to contribute. It's going to be the back and forth. Things are going to process and make sense. But in a good, healthy relationship, there's not a feeling of losing yourself. So, I'm losing myself and it feels so good. You can say, wow, this is a good red flag that I am losing myself. Pay attention to your first gut instinct and what you're saying. I'm losing myself. I'm out of control. Your self-accountability, your self-reliance is, you're being relieved of this. Once again, you're being respectfully disrespected. So it is to understand, but disrespected is the bottom line. In other words, for them to get you titillated, excited, and on them like glue is going to be the manipulation tactic. But the problem comes with is that you are not going to get back the real deal, the good life, the relationship, the truth. You are not going to be told to your face, to your heart, what is really going on. When you all of a sudden learn that they have, blackmailed you emotionally, talked about you behind your back, they're cheating on you, and they have no regret, they can't help themselves, whatever it is, then you know for yourself what your boundary is. It's very difficult then to enforce this, though, when you have been swept up or the emotions have begun in this hyperarousal and you're trying to get your footing back. But the hyperarousal can be the over hypersexualization of everything if you're in that type of relationship, or it can be in the catastrophizing, where everything is made to be awful, doom. They're using this sort of fear and intimidation, which can come out very strong as an aggressive quality. So there's this hostility or aggression, which all of a sudden they're turning on you in the blink of an eye. Here's one person, then here comes the salamander effect, then they're becoming, all of a sudden you're living together and all of a sudden, boom, everything is gone and they're just like gone literally with the wind, and you're like, what the heck just happened? How could a person just do that? That is a psychopathic quality where they're going to move from group to group, friend to friend. You might see this in their young ages as well. And it is to understand that they just that's how they move through. That's business as usual for them. But don't take it personally. Just realize that the hyperarousal then is to get you kind of off your rocker, off your foundation. Have you standing on one tippy toe versus on 2 feet. It's to unroot you, unground you. And again, if you're in the love bombing phase, where perhaps is a romantic relationship, then this might feel very good. And oh my God, now I have something to do. I'm doing this crazy life now. We're doing this, we're doing that. The high risk and hypersexualization can be, once again, violating, societal norms, having, sexual activity in places where it is not permitted. The law comes in. These are some, thrills which you can then become addicted to because the adrenals and the dopamine begin to get supercharged within you. So what's going on in them, the psychopath has a high sensitivity to dopamine. So when they are kind of going after their prey, they're getting a super, super reward. They're like, yeah, I'm getting whatever it is I want without consequences or without whatever this person needs. The empathy doesn't have anything to do with it. You're basically as objectified as a table, chair, or a napkin. To them, it's just, business as usual. I need this napkin. I need this chair. I need this table. It's hard to understand that others could dehumanize others or see others as such. But unfortunately, a psychopath, that is kind of where they're at. And there's all different in the spectrum, different intelligences, etc. But it is to understand that that is the case, and that to be addicted to this is to realize that this is now created a new strong neural pathway within the mind. So just as the drugs like cocaine will get people addicted, it's because they give a surge of this feel-good chemical that indelibly makes a mark in the neurons that wire and fire. The axons, the dendrites, they're like, this feels good, and then the brain is going to try to get that again. It's going to try to recreate that. We want more, but yet it's gone too far. Just like you see the gambling addicts who gamble away, their home. They're like, I'm going to remortgage, my home for this gamble or for this restaurant, and it's like, that would not be within the natural boundaries. Like, you're going to end up homeless, or this person who you're living with doesn't know what you're doing. Like, this is too high risk. And so, and then the hypersexualization, which means everything is sexualized. Everything has a tinge of sexuality where you can't see anything other than sex. It's the ultimate joke, they're on a one-track mind. Well, it's really that, but on steroids, where they're going to hyper arouse you, get to the point where, you have, you're at the ready for them, and you will do whatever it is required, or, planning for this getting together. So it is to understand then it is the chemical addiction that's running your life or running the relationship. And this is that hyper aroused state, which can be very lethal because it's kind of a combination of neurochemicals and behaviors and emotions, which I feel are kind of like not meant to be put together in that amount. It's kind of like a multi-layered recipe that is just about to explode in the laboratory at the school, and it's just going to run all over the floor and out the door, and then you're going to have like kind of like a mess to clean up. In other words, it's just like, do you remember, when you maybe were in 7th grade and you did the beaker with the ascorbic acid or whatever it is, and it could bubble up. Imagine having too much, and it's just running over the beaker and onto the table and onto the floor, seeping out down the hallway, and it's just really overrunning you. It is like that bubbling over of too much of this chemical within you that's giving you supercharged. And then it's going to drive people to do compulsive things, compulsive masturbation, compulsive driving, to find this person, having their mind sort of play tricks on them. This and this image seems too hyper aroused and I can't, control it. So this can really kind of run the body amok. You need to detox from this and begin to come back to a neutral, calm state. This is the ploy with which they get people under their grip. So don't take it personally, because in the love bombing stage, people usually say, well, this is the name of love, or this is my soulmate, or, this is what, I thought my future was. So your prefrontal cortex, you're planning, and they're like, they're like, I had you fooled, I'm gone like the wind. And then they go just, again, dissipating into the distance. So if you look at it like this, you're now on solid ground. You now have come to the point where you're on the bedrock of truth. You've laid your body on the bedrock of truth now. Your hands are set free. You're just sort of feeling the aftershock, almost like an earthquake that's rumbled you internally. And yes, it is going to take time for that chemical arousal to come down. It's going to take, I would say give it 18 months of going no contact and literally not seeing, following up, checking their Facebook, talking with them, texting them, looking at their phone number. You need to get all that out. You need to stop triggering yourself. If you're triggering yourself and kind of keeping that hyper arousal and still continuing to think like the psychopath, then you're going to keep yourself in this hyper aroused, terrorized state. You need to detox and begin to focus, focus, focus. This is not a positive state to be. It's not like, oh, wow, how am I now going to share this with another? I think that's the feeling of being damaged, is feeling like, am I ever going to be able to love again in a normal, healthy, balanced manner where things are under control? Once you've hit that sort of threshold, it's kind of like, wow, is that always going to be a part of me? Well, once again, I look at it like this. It's kind of like the rafter. It's kind of like the wooden boat that took you through a storm where there was lightning, waves, tidal waves, almost like and you were rowing yourself, and then finally a big wave just basically threw you on an island, threw you at the lighthouse, and the boat has just busted apart through this huge crashing wave, a 20-foot wave that's just landed you there, and then you're thrown on this stone island, or this island where the lighthouse just seemed to be. Thank God the waves brought you there, but the boat is just smashed into a billion pieces, and you are there. You somehow made it. And that's really what coming into a state of balance is like. You've now laid your foot and hands on the bedrock of truth. You're now in a safe place. You miraculously made it to the lighthouse. And that boat, cannot be recovered. You cannot rebuild it. You would not, want to rebuild it. The wood is all warped. The nails aren't sturdy. It is not really a life craft. It is not really, meant to set voyage in the way that you can see life with. So it is to kind of, in that analogy, is to say, I am here now, and this is safe. I am at the lighthouse. Thank God. I don't know how the miracle worked, but God, infinite intelligence, somehow brought me through this, miraculous. It's like the footprints in the sand. If you ever read that poem, it's like, the 2 feet, and then I just saw one, and then you were carrying me. It's kind of like that experience. So it's like experiencing your own miracle in your life. Can I get a miracle? And the answer is yes. So when you're there, it's not that you're damaged. It's that you are safe. If you're understanding the psychological tool of cognitive reframing, it is to see, I am now secure in truth. Truth is now within me, and it is now a part of me. My identity is now here. I have arrived. So it's to say that it is not damage that you are feeling. It's the fact that truth has arrived. Your wisdom has arrived. This is the miracle of human life. This is the journey, this experience of you kind of coming through to the other side. This is your breakthrough. It is not being damaged. It is not meaning that you're faulty. It's meaning that you have a profound, deep truth and awareness, which is your guiding spirit, is your guiding light. And you're now building on this. And it is okay for you to recover a new, stronger, better you, and to be resistant to that destructive force. It's like literally the energy and etheric field around you, which is the energetic field which emanates from your heart, from your head. Oftentimes you can feel this on people, very, enlightened people. You might feel a sense of holiness radiating out of them. I know a lot of cultures talk about this. In the United States, that's not always what we talk about, but people, talk about entering into higher consciousness or higher etheric energy or holy energy or an energy vortex of healing. So this is that healing. It's the miracle of life. And it is to understand that this does not mean damage. This means aware. This means self-protected. This means not entering into hyperarousal anymore. This means not getting carried away. This means not taking on other people's baggage. This means not taking on other people's garbage. This means remaining clean and taking care of you. I.e., there is something here. I have come home. I have found what I am looking for. By the grace of God, go I. I am found. So it's standing in this, and then it's a release of judgment. So in other words, it's a release of needing to struggle, fix, repair, staying entrapped with these people. It is to let go of the trauma bond and say, it's right here. And whatever else is going on out there does not matter. It's the ability to take your eyes off of the distraction. It's your ability to not listen to the lies. It's your ability to not speak more energy or life into the lies. It reminds me of that great Jewel song, no longer give your strength to that which you wish to be free from. There's a snippet of her song there, no longer give your strength to that which you wish to be free from. So in other words, your strength is your eyes. Your strength is your attention. Your strength is your breath. Your strength is your hands. You're no longer giving you to that. So that means no more eye contact. No more looking at them in the eyes. No more listening at them with the ears. No more facing them with this body. It is to turn away. It is to do a pattern interrupt. It is to call forth, protection, lawyer. It is to call forth a restraining order to help you to calm down and come back to balance. So I think the fear is to understand that you are not damaged. You have come into your truth. This is actually an enlightened state. And to say, this has made me the wiser. This is now the ability to see what my boundaries and standards are, and is to know that life will deliver someone and experiences and people that will see my standards, see my boundaries, and be able to interact with me there. I might not be intimate with anyone right now. If that is appropriate, then my life will bring that to me if and when I'm ready, or if and when I want. And if it is going to feel different. It's not going to feel like I'm getting lost. I'm not feeling like I'm getting intoxicated by this person. I am not, psychopathic drunk. I'm not able, my body's not able to enter into that anymore. I have a stopgap mechanism. In other words, I have gone through an upgrade. So it's kind of like a car repair or a self-repair. It does not mean that you're damaged. It means that you have upgraded your strength, your awareness. You have, you're moving up. You've graduated to this, and you're no longer falling plunder to this. So it is to say that, there's going to be specific others who will then meet you where you're at. And that is okay. And it's okay to say no to people. And this might contradict your truth, your feeling, oh, but I'm carefree, spontaneity, I want to give and help others, that's the man, I'm the woman. No, you have learned otherwise, and you've learned you can't take on the baggage, the abuse. You've realized that you're that's no longer tolerated. And so zero tolerance is the way to go. If you tempt yourself back in, you're probably going to spring back. So it is okay to say, I'm not going to test the waters. I'm going to know when I'm fully healed. And so you will heal. Time will heal this. Staying focused, using the tools, using the resources, keeping a schedule that we recommend, and all the tools I'm creating within my book, as well as the website that I'm putting together. You have to be an enforcer of this and really kind of be the one. The guide you're looking for is you. So it's a matter of keeping a schedule, keeping your focus, going no contact, and do not, put any senses towards them, because to pay attention to them is to kind of give of yourself. So you have to be very careful.